Hey guys, today I'm going to be checking out some of my favorite amps from the company Car Amplifiers. Stick around. So Car Amps is a relatively small operation out of Pittsboro, North Carolina, where they've been making amps since 1998, and they just make great stuff. They've got mostly Fender styled amps, but they've got a few different things in the range that cover all kinds of different tones that are really great for a working musician or somebody who just wants a really high quality sound. What drew me towards these amps mainly is how good they sound, but also they're pretty compact, they are very giggable, and I haven't had any problems with them since I've had them. I really like these amps because they're made to be used. The Rambler has been my main gigging amp for about the last 2 years, and it's held up to all the normal wear and tear of regular gigging, of in and out of cars, into bad venues, bad power, into buses, and all manner of thing. And it's been great. I've had no problems with it. Aesthetically, they're really cool too. They have this kind of retro asymmetrical vibe with the way they're designed, and the cabinets are all beautiful, and I think those are designed in-house by the guys at Car, and they just sound and look great. Throughout this video, I'm not going to go super deep into each amp individually. I'm going to kind of just show you these are the ways I use it, these are what drew me to it, and then I'll let you go find one for yourself and play it and really experience what these things sound like, because they're hard to beat. Today I'll be running through 3 of their amps. I've got a Rambler, a Mercury version 1, so they have a newer one now that's pretty different, but I've got the old one, and then an Artemus that I picked up pretty recently that they discontinued a while back. So I think all 3 of these amps are incredible, and I'll show you how I use them for the different types of things that I do. Signal path today we'll be running through a few different guitars, mostly through my pedal board and then into the amp. From there I've got a Biodynamic M160 and a 57 going into my Warm Audio 273 pre's and then into Ableton. I'm going to start with the newest amp to me, which is the Artemus. For a while I was on the hunt for a Vox matchless style amp and just really didn't find anything that was clicking, that either was way too expensive like an actual matchless, or not quite loud enough, or massive like an AC30. I stumbled across the Artemus, which I didn't even know existed, and then looked it up a little bit and realized that it's Car's take on the AC style circuit with some things that kind of push it towards the more Fendery realm, and I think it's great. It definitely satisfies what I want out of that, where it's really chimey, but it's not really brittle, and it doesn't have all the weirdness that an AC30 can have sometimes, especially the newer ones. One thing that I did want out of the amp I was looking for was something pretty loud, and this is punishingly loud. I have it set to the 15 watt setting, and it's still not really going to get past about 9 o'clock when I'm at home without shaking the house. So we won't get to hear much of the cranked amp sound out of it, which does sound beautiful, but we won't get to hear that today. But know that it can do that, and if you find one and that's what you're looking for out of it, it'd be great. So the next amp we're going to get into is the Mercury, and I have an original, I guess version 1 of this amp, but it is a single EL34 8 watt. It has a built-in attenuator that can drop it from 8 watts to 2 to a half a watt to a tenth of a watt, which is really cool for at-home stuff if you want to dime the amp and get it kind of ragingly distorted. Beautiful reverb, and you can get the amp dialed just to where you want it to be, on the edge of breakup or super clean but nice and working the tubes. All the sounds I'll run through with this one are going to be straight into the amp, so no pedals or anything hitting it before we go in. This amp is really incredible. It sounds amazing, and I think it works great for anyone that's doing a lot of recording, whether at home or in a studio, or if you're in a place where you want an amp that sounds great but you don't want to make your neighbors mad, then it's a great option for having a really, really high quality sound at a pretty low volume. I think you can still pick up the original Mercuries around, and the newer one is similar but has some tweaks, and I think is maybe more British circuit style. So it's not quite the same amp that I'm using, but everything they do is great. Last but not least, we're going to look at the Rambler, which to me is the most popular amp from Car that I've seen. I've seen the most people use it out gigging or for sessions. It's basically a really loud deluxe reverb at its most simple, but it's my main gigging amp. It's a small Canon. It's super loud. It can stay really clean to get you over a drummer, even when you're not miking the amp, and get you the nice, powerful, clean sounds that a lot of times we want. I got this amp, I went to a shop looking to try some other things. And they just said, hey, you should try this one last amp before you leave. And I did. And then I walked out with the Rambler. The spring reverb sounds incredible, like all of the reverbs in their amps. And this one has a trem in it that also just sounds great. So that's my car amps for you. I think these things are wildly underrated. They're incredible sounding amps. They're incredibly well built. And for the price range, they're really hard to beat, I think. There's a lot of things out there that sound great, but are thousands more dollars than these are. And not saying that they're cheap, but within the grand scheme of boutique amps, I think these guys are incredible. If you like this video, like and subscribe. That really helps me out. And let me know what kind of amps you use in the comments.